Hit list this time, we salute the legends and newcomers in the world of soul and R&B. Veteran soul queen Patti Labelle has never been a shy performer.
I'm on stage every, 3 days out of a week. I'm touring someplace. I do like an hour and a half or 2 hour show. I roll on the floor, I kick my shoes off, I cry, I laugh, I hug.
Nor is she given to false modesty.
I make sure people end up leaving, all thinking the same way, like peace, respect, and love. When you come to Patti Labelle concert, you could be black, white, gay, or straight, with $8 billion or $8. You're gonna all leave feeling touched by an angel.
Sometimes criticized for grandstanding and accused of once upstaging Diana Ross, she's reportedly defended herself by saying she's got a big voice and she's going to use it. Early on, she used it in the all-girl group Patti and the Bluebells, which later became simply Labelle. They gained fame playing at R&B Mecca, the Apollo Theatre in New York. At a recent event to celebrate its 75th anniversary, she was inducted into the Apollo Legends Hall of Fame by Mariah Carey and recalled the highlight of playing there in the 60s and 70s.
The audience responding. Instead of throwing eggs, they stood up. Because when you're bad at the Apollo, they'll let you know.
The group's biggest hit came with the 1974 smash Lady Marmalade. After leaving the group in the late 70s, Patti got her first taste of solo chart success with her 1984 single, If Only You Knew. She had several more hits before releasing her gold-selling Burnin' album, which won her a Grammy Award for Best R&B Female Vocal Performance. She won another with her 1998 release, Live and One Night Only. More recently, she reunited with Nona Hendryx and Sarah Dash to release the first Labelle album in 32 years. Appropriately titled Back Now, it featured traditional gospel anthems, as well as songs written by Nona.
Nona contributes the best songs. She's the best songwriter I know. So she gives me great material to sing.
The mutual compliments were flying.
Her voice stands alone. And it's, I'd like to see Pat get more credit for the talent she has, but she gives us exactly what we need to make this Labelle sound what it is.
Although they hadn't worked together in 3 decades, it was just like old times.
We're really tight. We fight. Yeah. We scream at each other. We tell each other, no, don't wear that. Don't wear that. They talk to me that same way. We all talk to each other because I don't want them wearing something that I don't like for them.
And getting the Labelle show back out on the road turned out to be an emotional experience all round.
The biggest surprise to me, and the best part, is when we did a show in New York at a bank before we did the Apollo. The same thing happened at the Apollo. That was our first show. The people stood for 20 minutes crying and clapping and just smiling and wouldn't stop. When they saw the 3 of us together, that's all they wanted for 33 years. Their dream finally came true.
British funksters Jamiroquai were at the forefront of the London-based acid jazz movement of the 1990s. After finding European success with their first 2 albums, Emergency on Planet Earth and Return of the Space Cowboy, they broke through in the US with their 3rd album, Traveling Without Moving. The innovative video clip to their 1996 hit Virtual Insanity, which highlighted lead singer J.K.'s penchant for crazy hats and kooky dancing, took out 4 MTV Music Awards. Shifting more towards soul and disco in 2001, their 5th album, Funk Odyssey, spawned the #1 hit Little L. But the 4-year gap before their next release raised some eyebrows.
We haven't looked at it like there's been a delay. I think what it is, from 2001, summer 2001, from the release of Funk Odyssey, it's 18 months of touring before, it's just a year and a half before you've even started. And then maybe 6 months off, for everybody to get together. Then we had to find a new keyboard player. Then me and Rob and Matt had to work out how we work together. And then, get the skeletons of the tunes, do some crafting, do some pre-production, work out what's going to sound good, and my job is always to veer it away. You know, that sounds too much like we did last time. Veer it away, you know, and that took some doing.
In coming up with the next album, Dynamite, Jay was determined to deliver for Jamiroquai fans.
You can never take that for granted. You can never sort of say, oh, right, you know, 4 million people bought the last album, 4 million people are going to buy this one. It isn't like that at all. And, you know, you can only gauge it from when it comes. I'm nervous as hell. When it first comes out, and I sort of sit and I don't want to look at the Music Week, you know. You sort of want to look at your chart position, but you can't take it for granted. You can't take it for granted.
However, their determination to keep things fresh almost backfired when critics reacted to the change of direction in the album's lead single, Feels Like It Should.
I felt using a human beatbox was a very unusual step, putting a groove on it and then singing a kind of falsetto thing was different. It gave it a rugged kind of feel that I don't think we'd had before, and it had an impact. Everybody immediately heard the first bars, you know, and went, what is that?
It ended up going to #3 on the British charts. The following year, they went to #1 with their greatest hits collection. And by 2007, they were ready to scale new heights. Known for his love of fast cars and dangerous living, he and the band set about breaking a Guinness World Record by playing a gig in mid-air. In February, they treated a plane full of lucky fans to a concert at 30,000 feet, aboard a specially fitted Boeing 757. While Jay may have had a few problems sticking his dance moves, he was happy with their performance.
Difficult to get your breath. And very strange with our, well, it's a problem there. But, you know, I mean, unusual, different and unusual, and it's about the weirdest thing I've ever done.
Dubbed the Queen of Rock and Roll, Tina Turner has sold more than 200 million albums over the course of her 50-year career. Her first taste of success came in 1966 with the single River Deep Mountain High. Then in 1971, she and her husband Ike reached #4 on the US chart with Proud Mary. They had another hit with Nutbush City Limits about Tina's hometown in Tennessee 2 years later. After a messy divorce that left Tina responsible for their debts, she appeared as a guest on a raft of TV shows to help pay the creditors. She then embarked on a solo singing career and hit her stride in 1983 with her album Let's Stay Together, which featured the song What's Love Got to Do With It? It became a worldwide smash, and at 44, Tina became the oldest female artist to have a #1 single in the US. Then came Private Dancer and Tina's first worldwide tour as a solo act. A booming, raspy voice, irrepressible energy and consummate showmanship, not to mention the spiked wigs, miniskirts and maxi heels, turned her concerts into must-see events. At the end of her 24/7 tour of 2000, the Guinness World Records announced that she had sold more concert tickets than any other solo performer in history. 8 years later, there was still enough fuel in the tank for one last tour.
It has to be now, because this is our surge. This is our time to come back once more and give the younger children that their parents have promoted all of the acts of their time. It's time to go now. I can still do it. I'm still in shape enough, physically and mentally. And yeah, I think this was just about the best time to do it.
The tour opened in October 2008 at the Sprint Center in Kansas. At the age of 68, the 8-time Grammy Award winner burst onto the stage in black sequins and 4-inch heels and belted out her single Steamy Windows in trademark Tina Turner style. The 18,000-strong audience was made up of fans of all ages.
Tina! 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 Yes, it is! And here we are today to celebrate our 20-year Tina anniversary.
My longevity in the business is attractive to all age groups because of the energy. And so why I dance at such a pace is because it feels good with the dance, and I'm known for that kind of energy. And young kids can really relate to that as well. So I think that my age group range from young to the old, to my age, because of the energy that's projected from the stage.
No doubt her continued popularity also has a lot to do with the way she approaches each performance.
Very quiet just before the storm, so to speak. You're waiting then to get into that other character. It's not fear, it's anticipation.
Oh God, I can't believe we're going to it again.
You start to feel it. You start to look around and see, this is the right bunch for me here. There's a harmony, because there's a family that's going to be together for a certain amount of months or years or how long you're out for. I don't like to leave the stage until I look out and see that the audience are totally pleased.
When legendary soul singer Ray Charles was laid to rest in June 2004, thousands of fans lined up to pay their last respects at the LA Convention Center.
I'm such a fan, and I wanted to come and give my respect and say goodbye and let him know how much I'll miss him.
He was a genius, and everybody appreciates him, and most people love him and appreciate him for all of the joy that he's given to them over their lives.
Best known for his signature hits, Georgia on My Mind and Hit the Road Jack, the entertainer, who lost his sight at the age of 7, won 12 Grammy Awards and was considered one of the most influential musicians of his generation. Frank Sinatra once declared him the only true genius in the business. At the height of his career in the mid-1960s, he was arrested for possessing heroin, a drug he'd been addicted to since his teens. After his third arrest, he finally managed to kick the habit through a stint in rehab. He surfed a new wave of popularity after his appearance in the 1980 comedy The Blues Brothers and continued to work throughout the next 2 decades, always searching for perfection.
I'm never really satisfied. But you see, I know that that's just because I'm very critical of myself. I can always think of, I could have done this, I should have done that. You know, you always, when you hear later on, you always say, I wish I had I wish I had. But there comes a point where you have to say, am I happy right now, at this moment, am I? And if you say yeah, then you go home and you sleep.
And at the age of 72, he was still going strong.
I don't know anything to retire to. You understand what I mean? I'm doing what I love doing. And as long as I have my health and my strength, you know, I'm going to do that until the good Lord tells me, okay, you can come out the pasture now, you've been a good horse, and he takes me away. But until then, I'm of the Duke Ellington variety, the Count Basie variety. I'm going to do music till I die. It ain't no retirement.
In fact, Ray Charles was destined to keep churning out music even after he died 2 years later of liver cancer. The following year, to commemorate what would have been his 75th birthday, 2 new albums hit the shelves. The first was a CD of duets Ray had recorded over the years with the likes of Diana Ross, George Michael and Gladys Knight. And the second, compiled by longtime collaborator Ahmet Ertegun, was a 7-CD box set of recordings from 1952 to 59. His life also featured in the biopic Ray. Honoured with a World Music Legends Award for fusing hip-hop with soul, Mary J. Blige has plenty of fans among her hip-hopping peers.
Mary Blige is incredible. I loved her since her first single, when I first heard her on Father MC's song. So she has showed that she's a timeless artist, a classic artist, and it's well-deserved what she's getting. And I'm glad that she can show evolution and keep getting more popular and popular.
The news that Mary's album The Breakthrough had earned 8 Grammy nominations was met with resounding approval.
Mary J has so much soul and so many stories that are relatable to a lot of people. I think that when you have a true story and then you put it out there and you share it with the world, you know, people embrace it. And she deserves it, you know, just because she's put so much time and effort into her career. And you can see that, you know, through it all, you know, she's been able to blossom. She's been able to blossom, and it's a beautiful thing.
For Mary herself, however, the making of her 7th album had come at the tail end of some long, hard soul-searching. The lack of success of her previous release, Love and Life, had made her wonder whether she'd lost her touch, while some critics whispered that her hip-hop soul crown may have been usurped by younger artists. But after becoming the 5th best-selling album of 2006, the breakthrough lived up to its name.
This is what happened with the breakthrough. And once I start speaking from my heart and, you know, based on how I see things and, you know, and how I see myself, you know, my fans, they listen because I am them, they are me. And, you know, at the end of the day, people are people. We are each other. And we go through some of the same things, may not be all in the same way, but some of the same things. So I kind of knew I wasn't going to let him down.
On the big night, she was rewarded with 3 Grammy Awards: Best Female R&B Vocal Performer, Best R&B Album, and Best R&B Song for Be Without You. For Mary, who's battled addictions to drugs and alcohol and abusive relationships, it marked the end of a long struggle.
You know, each year it's something different, but this particular year it means so much because the breakthrough represents a positive change for Mary J. Blige, even bigger than No More Drama. Because in No More Drama, I was just at the end, but I was still this. But now I understand what it means to love yourself and think positive about yourself. And here is all the results came out in my career and in my home life too.
Married to her manager, Kendu Isaacs, and stepmother to his 3 children, Mary has gone on to release another album, Growing Pains, which peaked at #2 on the Billboard charts. In 2009, she was invited to sing at the presidential inauguration celebration at the Lincoln Memorial, before continuing work on her album, The One. Janet Jackson first appeared on stage with her older brothers at the age of 7. 3 years later, she was a regular in the family's variety television series, The Jacksons. And by the age of 16, she'd scored her own recording contract and released her first album. Her image as a solo artist gradually became more and more sexual as she distanced herself from her wholesome beginnings as the youngest member of the Jacksons. Throughout the 90s, she developed a reputation for revealing plenty of flesh in risque outfits during her stage and video appearances. But when she performed Rock Your Body with Justin Timberlake during halftime at the 2004 Super Bowl, few would have expected any literal intention behind the lyrics, "Gonna have you naked before the end of this song." Yet, as Justin sang the line, he ripped open Janet's bustier, treating 144 million viewers to the sight of her right breast. After the show, she apologized, pleading a wardrobe malfunction. But the FCC was having none of it and fined CBS $500,000. While Justin's career continued to blossom after the incident, poor Janet was banned from attending the year's Grammy Awards, and she was forced to pull out of her starring role in a biopic of legendary jazz and blues singer Lena Horne. 3 years later, she was well covered up in Japan to promote her album 20YO, to commemorate her 20-year career as a solo performer.
How do you like your wedding kimono?
Thank you very much. I like it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's comfortable for me. They didn't make it very tight, so I'm very comfortable.
She talked up her 2006 release as a return to the R&B style of her early albums and seemed to have shrugged off the fetish gear.
When I had my first meeting with Jermaine Dupri and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who produced and wrote the album with me, the very first thing I said to them is that I wanted to get back to dance. I miss dancing, so I wanted it to be a dance album. And I wanted to get back to my R&B roots, the way I did with the Control album.
While one critic suggested she'd be better off not making the comparison, others praised the album. Glenn Gamboa of Newsday noted with relief that she's kept most of the timey-up, timey-down sexual raunch of her recent albums in the closet. This album is all about dancing and returning to her R&B roots. And having won her way back into public acceptance, all Janet wanted to do was dance.
Dance to me is everything. I love what I do. I love writing music. I love creating music, singing it, but it really wouldn't be what it truly is for me without the dance. And dance, it expresses. Everyone, you know, you have your own feel, your own style, and it's a great way for your individual, so you are able to express yourself through your dance, making you who you are, expressing that through your dance.
Alicia Dixon made her name as part of the British all-girl trio Mystique. After having several UK hits off their debut album, Licking on Both Sides, the sexy R&B troupe bravely ventured to the US with the release of their second album, Eye Candy.
We definitely have come over here to make waves. We've come over here, we are from the UK, and we want to make a big impression on the US. We've not come over here to try and imitate what you guys do. We've got our own style. Exactly. We just want to be known as the girl group that came out of the UK that was successful here, because it's really hard in this day and age to break through, and we're trying to break the mould.
While Eye Candy peaked at number 6 in the UK, it did little to impress the Americans and ended up being their final album. The last song they recorded was Shoop Shoop Baby, which appeared in the 2005 animated Disney feature Valiant. After announcing the split with Mystique, Alicia walked into a £500,000 solo deal with Polydor and spent the next year writing and recording her debut album, Fired Up.
Everything's fresh again and new, but I've got this knowledge from before now that I'm bringing with me. So yeah, and I'm taking it all in my stride now, just at my own pace, which is nice.
In an interview to promote the album, she explained the inspiration behind the lead single, Lipstick.
And it doesn't matter what the situation is, I just think in general, women can be quite non-supportive of each other and kind of see each other as like the enemy sometimes. I'm not speaking on behalf of all women, because obviously there's a lot of women that feel how I do, and that is, it's a nicer trait to support people, wish good on them, and to not be bitchy, so I can't speak for every woman.
Lipstick went to number 1 on Japan's ringtone chart and peaked at number 14 in the UK. Although a little disappointed with the sales of her first album, Alicia went on to sign a new 4-album contract with Asylum. The Alicia Show fared much better on the chart and inspired television personality Bruce Forsyth to dub her the British Beyoncé. Relative newcomer Corrine Bailey-Rae became only the 4th female artist to have a first album debut at number 1 on the UK charts. The 2006 self-titled release was also nominated for 3 Grammy Awards and earned her comparisons with blues legend Billie Holiday. Born and raised in northeast England to a West Indian father and Yorkshire mother, she grew up with feelings of being different and not fitting in, which formed the inspiration for her single Put Your Records On.
I wanted to write about non-conformity and almost be singing back to myself as a younger person. So the song's about not being afraid if you don't fit into a group and not being afraid to look different and be different.
While studying at Leeds University, she worked behind the bar of a local jazz club and would sometimes be invited on stage to sing.
If it was quiet, I used to come out from behind the bar and go and sit in with the bands and sing jazz with one band that would be there, and soul and Curtis Mayfield and Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye with other bands. So I feel like most of my experience really is playing live and writing songs to be played in front of a crowd and trying to work out what's going to make the guy at the back stop talking and the cash register stop going and make people pay attention and make people feel like there's some connection, to feel a connection between you and the audience.
By the time she was signed by EMI, she already had 10 years of performing experience under her belt and a suitcase full of songs to choose from. After recording the album, she was champing at the bit to perform live. But first came the record signings and award ceremonies.
Does it mean more to be recognised at the Brits then?
I guess it means the same, anyone who listens to your music, that means a lot to you, especially for someone like me who's worked in music for so long and supported so many bands and played in so many pubs. It means a lot to finally be recognised by people and to have an album that's done well. And yeah, it's great.